Hi everyone, Dr. Margaret Paul here with the Inner Bonding Commentary. And today I want to talk about an article called Psychologists Share 3 Techniques to Stop Negative Thoughts. Now I know that a lot of people have tried very hard for a very long time to stop their negative thinking. It is not an easy process to stop negative thoughts. They are deeply ingrained in our lower left brain. We learned them as we were growing up. They come from our false beliefs, and it is not easy to gradually learn to think in ways that are more truthful than our negative thoughts. So this is what I want to talk about today because I'm a bit dismayed by an article that kind of implies that it's easy to get rid of your negative thoughts. So this is in Grazia by Anton. Like I said, it's called Psychologists Share 3 Techniques to Stop Negative Thoughts. It says negative thoughts can haunt us as winter arrives. Here are 3 tips to get rid of them. So I'm going to go through these 3 tips, and there's nothing wrong with any of these tips, but it doesn't go nearly deep enough into what's necessary to evolve out of negative thoughts. So one of the things is to write them down. Yes, that's a really good idea. Writing them down helps you become much more aware of them than you might have previously been. So it's a really good idea to write them down and see what you're thinking. Now, the second is distance yourself from negative thoughts. This is way easier said than done. It's just not easy to, people do it all the time. They try to create distance. They try to move out of their negative thinking. But so often this does not work. It's just not enough. And that's because there's a lot to learn from the negative thoughts. The negative thoughts come from false beliefs. We need to learn about those beliefs. And so the third thing is to take a walk. And yes, I suggest this too. I love to walk. And when I walk, I do my inner bonding work, and it really helps me to connect to my higher guidance, which is where I get the truth and where I access what's loving to me, because this is vital for moving beyond negative thoughts. And so I want to talk about this some more. Our negative thinking comes from our programmed, ego-wounded mind. These are beliefs that we absorbed as we were growing up from our parents, from peers, from religious leaders, from teachers, from media. There's a lot of ways that we absorbed our false beliefs. Our negative thoughts come from this. In other words, when you have a negative thought, that is probably coming from a false belief, or it is a false belief. And it's not enough just to distance yourself or try to get rid of it. It's not a matter of getting rid of it. It's a matter of opening to learning about what you're trying to control, what you're trying to avoid, what you're protecting against with your negative thinking. And this is a major part of the inner bonding process. And so, yeah, it's great to take a walk or write it down or try and get some distance, but it doesn't give you the information that's coming from that ego-wounded self regarding the beliefs about what you can control, because negative thoughts are about trying to control something, trying to avoid something, trying to protect against something, trying to find a way to have control over feeling safe. That young, ego-wounded part of us thinks that with this negative thinking, it'll give us control over feeling safe. But the opposite is true, because these thoughts actually create fear. We don't feel safe when we're thinking negative thoughts. And because that part of us is programmed, those thoughts, those beliefs, most of the time are no longer true. They may have been true when you were a child, but they're not true now. And so that ego wounded self may be lying to you. And one of the ways that you tune into that is by being present in your body with your feelings. This is step one of inner bonding. We're present with our feelings. If we're telling ourselves these negative thoughts coming from false beliefs, we're going to feel anxious. We're going to feel depressed. We're going to feel scared. We're going to feel angry. There's all kinds of feelings that come up that let us know that we're operating from a part of ourselves that knows nothing. It is an ignorant part of ourselves. It is a programmed part of ourselves, and it doesn't know anything about the truth. Now, in the inner bonding process, like I've said often, there are only two intentions. One is to control, and the other is to learn about loving yourself and sharing your love with others. When you choose the intention to learn about loving yourself, you open yourself to your higher mind, whatever you want to call that. It's a higher source of truth. It's a higher source of love. And when you truly learn to open to learning about what's true and what's loving, you start to be able to access the truth about these beliefs. And you start to be able to access loving action. And it's taking loving action for yourself that eventually heals those negative thoughts. Once that wounded part of you gets that you, as a loving adult, which gets developed as you practice inner bonding, knows how to keep you way more safe than what the wounded self is trying to do with these false beliefs, it starts to let go. It starts to give up. This is not an instant process. But with practice, you'd be surprised at how rapidly you can start letting go of your negative thinking because you're developing a loving adult, because you're accessing a higher source of love and truth, all of which you will learn to do when you learn and practice the very powerful self-healing process of inner bonding. Now, inner bonding has been around for 40 years. It has proved itself time and time again with hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and with so many people who have been locked into their critic, their false beliefs about self-judgment and about numbing their feelings and getting rid of their feelings. I really want to encourage you to go to our website, innerbonding.com, take our free 7-day course, read some of the books, take some of the other courses, and learn inner bonding. It is so life-changing.